Welcome, friends, to Heartlore, Irish at Heart. Join me, Nora, every Monday for a new episode at 11:11 a.m. Irish time. Before we begin today's episode, I want to let you know about a beautiful workshop that I'm hosting this coming Saturday, the 31st of January, in the Healers Dance in Blessington, County Wicklow. It is to celebrate Bridget and Imbolc. My workshop is called Inviting Your Inner Child Out to Play, and I will be telling stories of Bridget, goddess and saint, and other Celtic goddesses. And then we will move on to some beautiful creative play using gorgeous natural materials. It's a lovely workshop, gentle and fun, and I would love to see some of you there. So now, on to today's episode, which is all about Mannanan Mac Lir. He's featured in a number of episodes, but I felt he really deserved one all to himself. Mannanan Mac Lir is of the Tuatha Dé Danann. He's the son of Lir, the sea god, and is a sea god himself. And he's a brother of the famous children of Lir, who we heard about in a previous episode. If you haven't heard that one, you can scroll back to podcast episode number 10 from the 19th of May last year. And I'm sure you will remember that Mannanan Mac Lir is the foster father to Lú Lámh Fada and aided him in the preparation for the Second Battle of Mac Lir. That's another podcast for you to go back to if you haven't heard that one. Mannanan's domain is Tir Tangari, or the Land of Promise, Mag Mel, or Tir na Nog. Mannanan had a significant collection of magical items. He had a self-navigating boat called the Scuba Tunya, the Wave Sweeper, a sword called Fragrach, the Answerer, so called because no one could ever tell a lie if it was held against their throat. I would say that was probably the case for most swords, but however. He had another sword called Díoltach, Retaliator, that could slay with every stroke. He had a spear called Crann Bui, Yellow Tree, a breastplate which no weapon could pierce, and a silver branch with golden apples that produced soothing music that could put anyone to sleep. He had a horse, Ainvar, Enbar of the flowing mane, that could gallop across the surface of the sea as though it were solid land. A speckled cow that he brought to Ireland from India that can provide a constant supply of milk. And 7 pigs, which after being slaughtered and eaten can be reconstituted so they can be slaughtered and eaten again ad infinitum. He had the power to create a mist of invisibility, Feth Fiada, which is how he hid the Tuatha Dé Danann's escape underground from the Miletians. He owned the Cor Bulg, the crane bag, which he used to store all of his treasures. This is a kind of an icky story. Aoife, daughter of Delbeth, and Lucra, daughter of Abertach, both fell in love with Mannanan's son, Ilbrach. Ilbrach only had eyes for the beautiful Aoife, so in a fit of jealous rage, Lucra turned Aoife into a crane. Aoife fled to the lands of Mannanan and lived there for 200 years. When she died, Mannanan was so sad, he used her feathery skin to make the crane skin bag. See what I mean? That's kind of... He kept all kinds of magical treasures in this bag, the contents of which are only visible during full tide. The bag appears empty at low tide. Inside the bag are a shirt, knife, smith's hook, and belt of the god Gubnu. the shears of the King of Scotland, the helmet of the King of Lachlan, a belt of fish skin, and the bones of the pig Assel. Historians believe that Mannan Bay is named after Mannanan Mac Lir, and he gave his name to the Isle of Man. The famous emblem of the Isle of Man, the 3 legs of man, may represent Mannanan Mac Lir. This is from Volume 3 of a publication called The Manx Book, produced by the Isle of Man Natural History and Antiquarian Society in 1890. Mannanan was a magician that governed the island for many years, often hiding himself in a silver mist on the top of some high mountain. And as he could see strange ships who came to plunder the island, he would get into the shape of the 3 legs and roll down from the mountaintop as fast as the wind to where the strange vessels were anchored and invent something to frighten them away. Well, as if 3 legs rolling down a hill wouldn't be frightening enough. One day, one of Mannanan's daughters was caught in a storm while boating in Kilkieran Bay in County Galway, but he saw the danger that she was in and rescued her by conjuring up Man Island, a small rock in the bay. On stormy days, foamy waves, known as his seahorses, Coppel Mannanan, can be seen. Mannanan was married to the fairy queen Fand, who, side note, had an affair with Cuchulainn. More on this in another episode. Mannanan had many children, sons Ilvrech, Fiachna and Gaidar, and daughters Anya, Aoife and Grianne. According to the Schools collection, when the Tuatha Dé Danann were defeated by the Milesians, Lir changed his 7 daughters into 7 water maidens because he would not have them being taken in marriage by the Milesian chiefs. Dlunlach, the eldest, dwelt in Corraloch Lake, Glyn dwelt in Ballinaloch Lake, Luvar lived in Ballygar Lake, Ruadini in Red Lake. The goddess of the River Shannon is Mannanan's granddaughter. This is a story from the Schools collection from Tavron, County Mayo. Some 60 years ago, which would make this about 150 years ago from 2026, the stream that drains Loch Rua into Loch Heartlore was being opened. A ganger with his gang of workmen started at Loch Heartlore to clean the bottom of the stream. A sluice was set on the mouth of the river at Loch Rua, and it was left there while the cleaning and deepening operations were in progress. But local traditions had it that whosoever would interfere with the letting of the lake would have the Ruadini to deal with. When the time came for the sluice to be pulled, the ganger could find nobody to let the water go. He offered 5 shillings to whoever would pull the sluice, and that was a lot of money at the time, but no one would take his offer. He offered half a sovereign, still no takers. Finally, he offered a full sovereign, and a man named Morley from Kappa agreed to do the job. No sooner did the waters of Loch Rua begin to drain into the river than the crowd who were witnessing this daring or foolish act of Morley were awe-stricken, for the roof of Morley's thatched house, which was visible from the river, was seen to be in a mass of flames. He paid dearly for his interference with Ruadini Mannanan. For the sake of 1 gold piece, he found his house destroyed by fire. Mannanan was killed in battle by Ullin, grandson of Nuada Aragadlov, in Moycullen in County Galway. Where Mannanan died, a great spring emerged and formed the sheet of water known today as Lough Corrib. According to a passage from the school's collection in Moville in County Donegal, Mannanan is buried in the Ton Banks off the coast of Donegal, near Inishowen Head. Shipwrecks have occurred here, and the spirit of Mannanan is supposed to ride at intervals on the storm. The Tons form one portion of a triad known as the three waves of Éireann, along with the wave of Rory in Dundrum Bay and the wave of Cliana off Cape Clear. Whenever Cuchulainn lifted his shield and smote it, the three waves of Éireann echoed this signal and roared over the ocean. And we'll finish with a lovely story from Ballymacravan, County Clare, called The Race from Slieve Luachra to Howth Hill. In the days of the Fianna, a great warrior by the name of Quail came from some foreign land to Ireland. He landed near Dublin and came to the Hill of Howth, where Fionn McCool and the Fianna were encamped. He challenged Fionn to produce a warrior who could best him in running, jumping and fighting. And if he could not, he would put the country under tribute. Fionn had but one man that he could rely upon, named Caoilte, but he was absent, and so Fionn sent a messenger to find him. The messenger travelled the country to no avail. One day, as he was journeying through a forest, he met a big, untidy, ragged man named Bodak, who inquired where the messenger was going. When he heard the tale, he told the messenger that he himself would compete in the race. They returned to Fionn, who didn't think Bodak looked like much of a runner. However, he had little other choice, so he agreed. It was decided that Cael and Bodak should run from Slieve Luachra in Kerry to the Hill of Howth the next morning. They set out for Kerry that night. When they arrived, there was nowhere for them to stay, so Bodak asked Cael to help him build a shelter. Cael refused. Bodak cut some branches with his sword and made a tent, covering it with rushes. "The house is made now," he said, "but there's no furniture." He asked Cael again for help, who refused again. So Bodak travelled to nearby Inchiquin, returning with a table, a chair and a barrel of wine. Then he went in search of dinner. As he walked through the woods, he found a great herd of pigs. He singled out a big one, followed him and killed him. Kindling a fire by magic, he set one half of the pig onto the fire to roast. The meat was cooked and Cael was invited to dine, but once again he refused. So the Bodak ate the lot himself and drank half a barrel of wine, and then he retired for the night. Cael slept elsewhere. When day broke, Cael awoke Bodak and reminded him of the race. "I have 3 hours yet to sleep," said the Bodak. "You go ahead and start without me." So Bodak went back to sleep for 3 hours, while Cael was on his way to Howth. When Bodak awoke, he kindled his fire, cooked the remainder of the pig and ate it, washing it down with the rest of the wine. Gathering up the bones, he tied them up in his coat and he started his race. After some time, he passed Cael. When he felt hungry, he sat down and finished whatever remained on the pig bones, while Cael passed by. Bodak overtook Cael once again until he felt hungry once again. So he stopped this time to pick and eat some blackberries growing in a bramble. When he was satisfied, he tied the remainder up in his coat and off he went again. Same thing, he overtook Cale, and he continued all the way to the Hill of Howth. Fionn and the Fianna rushed out to greet him, but he was too hungry to talk. Opening his coat, he threw the blackberries on the ground and demanded a sack of oatmeal, which he mixed with the blackberries. Just then Cale arrived, and he was furious at having lost. He drew his sword to slaughter the Fianna, but as he was passing, Bodak made a ball of the blackberries and meal and flung it at Cale. He knocked his head clean off, and it rolled down the hill. Following the head, Bodak picked it up and flung it back at Cale. It landed with such force that it lodged back on his shoulders, but facing the wrong way. Bodak asked if Cale preferred to remain in that position or to have his life taken away completely. "Oh, my life on your hands," said Cale. "Leave me as I am, and I will never again trouble yourself or this country." Then Bodak ordered him to get into his ship, and once he'd done that, Bodak put his foot on the ship and he gave it a shove, sending it 9 miles out to sea. From then on, his boots were called 3-league boots. Then, laying down his clumsy magical garments, he became a handsome, well-dressed man and was known as Mannanan Mac Lir. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please give me a like, follow me, message me on social media, and share the episode. And if you would like to support my creativity, you can buy me a cup of coffee. All of my links are in the About section on this podcast, and you can find me as Heart and Craft on social media, both Facebook and Instagram. Tune in the same time, same place, next Monday, 11:11 a.m. for another new episode. I hold inner child storytelling and creativity workshops for adults, and I also make customised workshops based on your requirements. If you are interested, do get in touch. Until the next time, friends, good night and boher live. May the road rise with you.